Good morning. Today I'm going to be talking about a hacktivist group called Killnet and the way we investigated their activities and overall impact from the group. To me, it's a very personal presentation. I do a lot of different research components, present on many different topics. Perhaps out of all the talks I've given over more than a decade and a half, this is the most personal talk, interesting, unusual, and hopefully gives us hope and ideas of how we can combat enemies that is seemingly unstoppable. Without further ado, let me jump into the topics. We're going to be talking about the hacktivism that got normalized over the course of past 3.5, 4 years, and why this is so important, why Russian hacktivist group Killnet is so iconic in this particular way without having any credit for major breaches. Just to explain to you that history of hacktivism is vast and extremely complex. Over the past several years, we've seen a huge change in the threat landscape where hacktivism became normal. 5 years ago, I would not even imagine when a single nation and their citizens can freely attack any other nation, any other company in the world just on a whim. But unfortunately, over the last several years, especially citizens of Russian Federation, but now folks, bad guys all over the world, feel free to engage in cyber warfare on the national level, hiding their activities behind hacktivism. And unfortunately, many governments, including here in the European Union and home where I live in the United States, feel powerless to make strong stances and enact major actions against it. So let me give you a little bit background of what the group Killnet is, who they are, and what they do. They've been established in November of 2021, several months before the beginning of Russian invasion of Ukraine, and they were simple DDoS service. There are many of them in Russia or around the world at the time, and all they've done, attacks, DDoS attacks against their targets. They've done it for profit. They've done it as a hired guns. There are still DDoS services where you can basically go in to a site on the dark web, put in payment, put in targets, and start the DDoS attacks. But the interesting thing about Killnet during that time, their first targets were not based on hacktivism, not based on the nation state components. The first targets for Killnet just before the war between Russia and Ukraine were actually the Russian law enforcement and other government agencies. One quick note, if you look, Russians don't have much imagination with their logos. It's all kind of like two-headed chicken with the logo of the day, but their targeting of this was very purposeful. Killnet actually picked fights with the Russian government first, and for really unknown to us reason. They were trying to attract attention, or they attracted the wrong attention in a way that just several weeks or months later after the attacks on February 23rd of 2022, just a day before Russian invasion into Ukraine, Killnet changes its tune. It's no longer attacking Russians within Russia. It's actually declaring its allegiance to the Russian government and vows to carry out the will of Russian government and their political ideas in its actions. This is something greatly unusual and very uncommon for a group to change its tune, especially a day before the war. But something is driving the group, and the group is doing something greatly unusual. Its first target for hacktivism on behalf of Russian Federation was actually attacking also informants infamous anonymous group. So they start a cyber war of DDoS with anonymous group. They were successful in knocking off the site for a couple minutes, but nothing doing as important. What Killnet actually succeeded, and this is why this topic is extremely important, that Killnet goes into propaganda machine. Killnet is made its mark on history because they were big and powerful. In their Telegram channel, where communications between the members of Killnet were permitted, the group actually counted more than 100,000 active members at the time who were participating in DDoS attacks and other various types of cybercriminal activity. How did they get 100,000 people? There are probably not 100,000 cyber threat actors in Russia at the time, but an interesting thing where what the change in the world actually leads to. You have to realize that before the Russian invasion into Ukraine, there were a lot of IT personnel, especially, who lived in Russia but were employed here in the European Union or other places abroad. This was absolutely normal. But within first weeks of the war, a lot of companies made a decision to separate all ties with employees and vendors who were based in Russia. And that's a normal activity. My company itself broke a number of different agreements of that sort, and our customers did as well. So that's kind of a normal activity. But imagine what the IT personnel in Russia actually thought. They were gainfully employed, in many cases very lucratively, and over the course of several weeks, a lot of them become unemployed. A lot of them become angry and despondent. Some of them turn into really not cyber criminals per se, but very incensed individuals who are willing to commit these types of criminal acts on behalf of their country as a revenge, as a payback, as a display of their discontent. Imagine that you're not dealing among Killnet members with normal, just normal threat actors. You're dealing maybe with very potent, very educated IT personnel, folks who have networking background, understand routing protocols, they understand how to impact those routing protocols. The developers, which were vast majority of Killnet population, those who became unemployed, understand what they can do on layer 7 to do data layer attacks, to create very expensive SQL inquiries and so on and so forth to disable applications within the targets. That's why Killnet was extremely potent in their variety and also in numbers. Imagine 100,000 threat actors actually given assignments on daily basis that they will be actually fulfilling because, first of all, they got nothing else to do because most of them are unemployed and got lots of free time. But second, they have incentive. They want to do something for their country. At the same time, the Russian government actually talking loudly that this kind of civil support to the Russian cause may actually excuse young men of Russia from the draft if they're doing something for their country. And this is empowering this whole movement. Killnet became an iconic movement for cyber criminals. Obviously, there are fun stories. One of the threat actors in the Killnet Telegram channel actually wrote that even his grandma joined Killnet. She is sitting a portion of her day on her computer in Internet Explorer, hitting reload button as quick as possible in a site that's being targeted. And while we know that eventually arthritis and tendinitis will actually stop the grandma, but to stop this huge movement is very difficult. So we have a problem. We got really a big portion of threat actors who are continuously trying to cause issues. And DDoS is one thing. This psychological campaign that the Killnet was running was extremely complex because they were targeting companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, photoshopping their executives in caskets, and after each encounter between Russia and Ukraine that killed Russians, they were saying that this now will happen to anybody who supports this war. They were offering bounties, financial bounties or recognition bounties for any information of employees of the companies who participate in support of Ukraine. And these type of things, they actually been successful in doing. One of the things that I think one of the most deplorable things in their channel, Killmilk, who is a leader of Killnet, actually posted in January of 2023 a call for action. So on the one side, it's in Russian, translated to you on the right side in English, basically stating that they are calling for DDoS attacks against hospitals in the United States, in Portugal, Spain, Germany, Poland, Finland, Norway, Netherlands, Great Britain. So they are calling for the hospitals, giving specific targets. One of the most deplorable things on the bottom as a postscriptum, it's written, kill them first. This is the enemy that we are facing, and we are facing this seemingly unstoppable enemy who's trying to attack not only companies, but also hospitals. And in a sense, some hospitals can withstand DDoS attacks, but some of the rural hospitals that actually share the bandwidth with their 911, with their data exchanges and stuff like that, they actually had significant issues fulfilling certain technical tasks. No deaths, as far as I know, but think about the frame of mind of this group. So let's look at who is behind this. Killmilk, the guy who posted a lot of this, the leader of Killnet and their mouthpiece, is that really build this psychological campaign along with the malicious campaign. And in order to understand who these people are, who we're dealing with, let's talk about their leader. Nikolai Serafimov was less than 30 years old at the time when Killnet started its activities on behalf of Russian Federation. This young man would appear to be absolutely normal, living and being raised in Russia. He is a husband and musician. In his early days, he was actually recording quite a bit of music. Obviously, that career didn't pan out for him, so he went into this direction. But he also talks about being a patriot. Being a patriot, showing on his social media images like this from his military service when he was younger in Russia, and it would look like this is a person who is supporting his country, doing something, whether we understand it or not, kind of a patriot, but he's not. As a person that we looked into, he is racist and fascist. Proofs of that I'm not going to honor with proving in this presentation, as I think it's highly offensive. But on top of this, he is a young man with vendetta. He writes in his social media many years ago that people who wrong him will pay, because when he gets to the top, he will exert revenge. The real Killmilk is also a drug user. He lives in the world of drugs. In 2013, when he was on social media filling out those surveys, like 20 things that I like or something like that, he actually writes about his affinity for drugs. To a question, what do you like the most? He says illegal drugs. What controls your mood? He says depends on amount of drugs in my system. So this affinity for drugs in 2017 actually gets him in trouble, because he actually goes into drug business, becomes a drug runner and drug distributor. In 2017, he gets arrested by Russian government on possession of drug charges. And while the court documents show that he fully cooperated with the investigation with courts, this article of Russian criminal code actually means that he needs to serve an 8-year sentence, and at the best case scenario, with full cooperation being ideal prisoner, he is only going to be eligible for release in 4 years. Yet within 1 year, we already have evidence of Serum Fimov being out and about as a free person. So he serves less than 1 year in Russian prisons, even though the Russian criminal code, which is extremely strict, especially on drug cartels and drug users, says that he needs to serve at least 4 years. And this is where he becomes rat for law enforcement. He becomes connected to Russian law enforcement, and this connection actually follows him all the way into his Killnet days. What picks us our attention is on October 9th of 2022, Kill Milk, at the time completely anonymous and mysterious person, but a celebrity in the Russian circles, actually gives an interview to Russian state media, Arte, Russian television, in which he answers a lot of questions, but this particular question actually picks our attention. The question is, do you have anybody abroad outside of Russia who supports your cause? And he actually goes out and says, well, thank you, this group Solaris, because without them, Killnet would not exist. And that kind of gives us an idea, like, okay, well, if you say that a Killnet should not exist, would not exist without Solaris, let's figure out what Solaris is. And I know much about Solaris. Let me do a belated introduction. I think that's the latest I've done introductions in my talks. But I think that's important, why we got involved at this point, why this actually piqued the interest. So my name is Alex. Hi. I was born in Ukraine many years ago. I live in the United States since 1989. My parents brought me to the United States, where I reside still. I spent my entire career in information technology and cybersecurity. This is my nature. This is what I do my entire life. And I do threat intelligence and incident response for a living. This is what makes me passionate. But I think the highlight of my resume, like, and lots of different things I can mention, but the most proud thing is that I make Putin mad since 2014. That's really a highlight. In 2014, we identified a Russian major hack on the front pages of New York Times. Next day, Mr. Putin put me on his naughty list. You don't get like a note or anything like that. You get a call from the government saying don't go to Russia. I put him on my sanctions list, so he's not allowed in my house. He can stay in the garage, where a couple of my friends from Ukraine can play bad cop and worse cop. But generally speaking, I have a great passion for Ukraine, and our offices in Ukraine really responsible for running this operation. So going back to this article, we said, okay, we actually know what to do with this. We know Solaris well because Solaris is a Russian illegal drug marketplace. And I know much about Russian illegal drug marketplaces because we track the bad guys on these marketplaces. The cyber criminals actually like to buy drugs, and they go on dark web using the same nicknames and everything on illegal drug marketplaces, especially in Russia. The interesting thing is that people who buy drugs, they buy drugs not far away from their home. They don't go to a different country, different state, different city for their drugs. So we triangulate them and their activities through drug marketplaces. So we figure out what to do with Solaris, and I'll explain that in just a minute. So we figure out what to do with Solaris, and we actually enable Solaris personnel to have a glitch in the system. The glitch was orchestrated by our Ukrainian office, but we are very proud that through that glitch, as Forbes reported, Solaris personnel itself transferred more than 1.5 bitcoins into wallets of Ukrainian charity that helped elderly people during the time of war. So they, by their hands, pushed the proceeds from illegal Russian drugs to the elderly people in Ukraine. Which is a great story, but this was not the end plan yet. So Solaris is a legal drug marketplace. It's been around since 2017, but designed by the guy named Zanzi. And on a daily basis, the movement of money within over 1,000 of illegal drug shops on that platform, we have seen to be more than 4 bitcoins. Bitcoin was a little bit cheaper than it is right now. But the question is like, okay, one of the weird things is that Killnet is thanking Solaris as their foreign friends, but we are tracking Zanzi. This is pings of his phone around Moscow, and he's based in Moscow, and so is Killnet. So why is he thanking the foreign groups? And we decided that this is an interesting connection with, given that Killnet himself has illegal drug problem and past, criminal past, and this is a legal drug marketplace. Maybe they're all connected, and maybe Russian drug trade is fueling or benefiting from this hacktivist movement. All we need to do is to scream very loudly about this connection. And this is what we did in Forbes magazine. We actually highlighted the connection between Russian hacktivism and illegal drug trade. For that, we have to get inside of Solaris group. But very thankfully, we were already in, because in 2017, when the platform was built, Zanzi came to us and said, hey, you guys, and he thought that we are really good IT folks who can solve a lot of problems. So he came to our persona and said, I have a technical issue. I have problems with my PHPs that's not really doing what we need to do. And we said, we'll take a look, we'll try to fix it. We didn't fix it, but we actually built a couple backdoors on the system, which survived through all these years. Once he started doing this thing through Tor, it became much easier to look at the servers. So we actually had very good access to the servers because he invited us to fix the problem. The problem still was there. But based on this Forbes article, and Solaris said, no, there was no breach, nothing had happened, they didn't have access, it's just an accident, not a big deal, so they fixed everything. They said they fixed everything, and because they fixed everything, we logged into their GitLab server to take a look what they fixed. They changed the onion address of the site, they changed the copyright date, and they changed the wallet number. But they didn't do that much. What they said that fix, they really didn't. Having access to GitLab actually highlights it. So we got to their servers, and thankfully, even though we had access initially to just a couple servers through .ssh files, through Ansible, we had access pretty much to entire infrastructure. So 3 weeks after the article comes out in Forbes, we still have access, and the message is still not being pounded at home. So we do something unprecedented in our history. We actually release the source code of Solaris. We release all the conversations. We release all the Bitcoin addresses for Russians buying illegal drugs. So we release all of this on our site. And then set to watch the mud start slinging. First of all, unfortunately, there was an issue with weathering a storm. Killnet actually recognizes myself as one of his arch enemies, writes very unpleasant things that I'm not going to translate here. But basically posts a lot of bad things about me, some doxing, which is unpleasant. I was taking the brunt myself on behalf of my team. Targeting, swatting attempts, extremely unpleasant, but thanks to our local police department, they handled it very, very admirably. With all of this unpleasantries, we still weathered the storm. Did Solaris learn its lesson? No. We still have access to Solaris for quite a while. And as one of the sources showed, on Solaris showed this cartoon of Ronald McDonald grieving for end of ramp, illegal Russian drug marketplace in 2017. 2022, Hydra, another Russian marketplace that went into history. In 2024, a year after our activities, Solaris also became obsolete, but it became obsolete shortly after this because they lost all trust and support of the community. Guess what? Russian government started paying attention and they cut off fundings to Killnet. So Killnet, that was bankrolled and controlled by the Russian government, actually refuses to support their activities any longer. The business model that they had actually unraveled upon itself because the Russian government said, no, we're not going to be funding illegal drug operations that we don't control. And they didn't control Solaris. And that actually gets into Solaris into troubles. This is also evident on the behaviors of Killmilk. First, he says that altruism is over. Now Killnet is going to be charging anybody for DDoS attacks. And the business model didn't work because how do you pay 100,000 people for the work? This didn't work. Then also Killmilk says, now everybody is fired, 100,000 people go home, I'm going to do things alone. Unraveling continues where he actually hands off controls of Killnet to a different group called Blackside. He says that now Blackside is in charge. I'm no longer in charge. Somebody points out that, did you call yourself Blackside a couple of years ago? He's like, oh yeah, sorry. He is quite a character. Then on October 6th of 2023, he actually posts this, which is a call for peace. He's asking for followers of Killnet, which are still numerous, to follow the Red Cross guidelines and not do anything bad about it. But October 6th of 2023 was a relatively good day because the next day, October 7th of 2023, Hamas attacked Israel. And Killmilk was first to jump on this from the hacktivist perspective, actually supporting the actions of Hamas, and from calling for peace, he was calling again for destruction of Israel in this particular case. So what happened in 2024? Because 2023 was a turmoil. We see unraveling of Killnet, and Killmilk actually sells access to Killnet channel via Killnet to somebody, a group called the Anon Club. He makes a big deal of it, says that he made more than $10,000. I think it's about 10,000 rubles, but big difference, about 100 times worse. But he sells it. You would not believe what the Anon Club was and is doing with the via Killnet channel. They actually dedicated themselves to fighting illegal drugs in Russia. I think we set a very bad example, very good example, I think. But the interesting thing here is that the Anon Club actually decided to get in good graces with the Russian government by showing that they are actually supporting the anti-drug agenda of Russia, so hoping to get some payments, get some money from Russian government. This doesn't happen. Killmilk himself, he leaves Killnet, and he actually gets doxxed at the end of 2023 by Russian government itself, by Russian state media, who actually names his name, arrives in his house, basically generally harasses him. And that's an interesting component. He also, in early 2023, when the problems occur, he pawns all his cars. His wife actually takes out loans even to do her nails, like microloans, which popular in Russia. So his financial gains completely ruined. He leaves Killnet, joins several other groups for a very short time, gets into fights. He actually starts school of learning how to use the dark web from about 300 euros to 30,000 euros, but the reviews are terrible. Don't buy it from him. The reviews like he's just sending a whole bunch of web links and does not respond to messages from people who bought this. And then he gets into flame wars. The only interesting thing that is he releases a couple singles, making fun of politicians, profanity-riddled songs. That's the only thing that happens. That was semi-amusing. Recently, he also declares himself dead for a day and then comes back and said, oh, I didn't die, nobody killed me, nobody cared. But that's what he does right now. But I want to take 30 seconds to be serious about these things. Killnet actually has a terrible legacy. This shows how a single nation can weaponize its citizens for cybercrime. They made it normal. They created a wave of hacktivism that swept the world and caused a lot of grief. A lot of companies build up their defenses, and a lot of individuals who would not consider themselves cyber threat actors actually become enthralled into these activities. In this hacktivism, they brought in individuals from outside, different walks of life. And today, as we see violence in Middle East, as we're seeing violence sweeping the globe, we are actually seeing hacktivism activities. The example that Killnet had set becoming very normal. We also see how powerful propaganda is versus actual hacking, actually breaching systems. And this can be as harmful to our society as the technology itself. And the last part of the story is about finding Al-Helix Hill. We initially said this project was 9 people, myself and 8 great people from Ukraine that work within my organization. We found this weakness, and we stopped, as Ukrainian press called, a herd of wild animals who were rushing at the world using cyber weapons. Finding this Achilles heel for our enemies, complicating their criminal streak, stopping them like this, definitely shows our capabilities as a community. And sharing this information, finding weaknesses, actually can help us stop something that's seemingly unstoppable, seemingly too big for us, and otherwise, coming up with interesting, innovative ways to fix major cyber criminal problems. That's my story. Hopefully it was interesting for you guys, and maybe we have a minute or two for questions.
Great presentation. You said that Killnet was funded, sponsored, or even funded by the Russian government. When you did the attribution, did you follow the money? And did it lead to GRU, FSB, SVR, or who sponsored them?
It's very difficult to find direct proofs because we're dealing with not Russian police. We're really looking at very complex components. The proof that we have is definitely interactions of Killmilk and the Russian government, because again, the sentence that was really commuted is critical. The money has also been invisible because the technology that was sponsored, we're seeing that the technology grows and the way it's growing, and some of the components of the infrastructure usually controlled either by major companies with great amount of funding and access, but also understanding that, for example, Yandex that hosts some of that infrastructure, it's a large Russian organization, and they would not be able to, like, if they see that they're being part of criminal enterprise, they will kill this immediately. But they didn't. They are aware of this, and they were able to identify. The money is also invisible because it went to organizations. We actually see funneling of intelligence from Killnet, like big pieces of information that members brought, into the other groups that would be considered to be APTs. This is hacktivists versus APTs versus government control. So we see some of the indirect connections. Money, we are just seeing the financial success of Kill Milk and his cohorts, and then dissipating almost immediately. Very difficult to do these attributions, but secondary attributions were very visible.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.